everyone, welcome back to Primetime Crisis. Time to talk some more Gotham. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Our episode in question this week is called Blood Rush, finally making some headway with Barnes and with love triangles. It's Love Triangleville.
Should I?
Just all around.
Should I leave the glasses on?
I'm creeped out now. So yeah, it's Love Triangle Land once again.
Oh, but it's a glorious love triangle land.
Sure. I mean, I know how much fun you're having.
I'm having so much
with the
fun.
Riddler and Penguin stuff. It's gone in too typical of a direction for me, and that's what that we talked about that last time. I didn't like the introduction of Isabel in the first place, and that's all gone exactly where I thought it would. Except that I said we would stretch it longer.
Mm-hmm.
Although this is Gotham, who knows if she's dead? I'm gonna assume she is.
It was the funniest cut.
At least, oh yeah, no, that's the best part of the episode. It's hilarious. Yeah, when that train comes, oh dear, and then you hear it, and then like, it's the most like noirish 40s black and white way to cut that, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, everything with Penguin is funny in this episode. He's playing it just right.
I really enjoyed him, like acting wise and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like almost everything about this script is mediocre in comparison to the rest of the season so far.
I agree.
I had huge issues with this script.
Huge?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought everything was so... Especially with the other love triangle, you know, especially with Lee and Mario and Gordon. It was just nothing but exchanges of cliche after exchanges of cliche. And yeah, it's this show, and yeah, this show gets real purple prosy, and it's...
Oh, but this isn't even purple
real
prose.
over the top,
this is just saying... I mean, even Barnes' speech at the end is something you have heard a million times before.
Yeah.
I finally see things the way they really are, and like, whatever that... It was...
It's a fine line you walk because it is a melodrama.
Mm-hmm.
This show, like I'm starting to feel more and more like I can categorize this show to a degree. It is a melodrama. It can go to those silly, obvious places where people don't talk like real people, and when you're consistent about it and there's sort of an internal logic, you can kind of get away with some of that stuff. Here, I just thought it was mediocre. When we go to those cliche places in the show, sometimes it's fun and hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's hard to decide where that line is. Here, I just wasn't.
Lee just as a
I just wasn't
character
impressed
needs
with
to go.
it. She needs to go. Yeah. Well, and that's the big problem with this episode, right? Is that it's mostly about characters that need to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
You're really just counting down time and waiting for Barnes to leave up to now. Although, I will say that's more interesting than I expected it to be.
I think we leave in a more interesting place.
Yeah.
The episode itself with him was fine. I mean, there's some fun with him flipping out on people, but I was just kind of... It's almost like just going through the motions where I'm like, okay...
You feel like you know where that's going.
Well, it's Gotham. I don't know exactly where it's going.
Well, just in the sense that you know this is how we're writing this guy.
I want to get there. I want to see where this is. What is the... Okay, he's going crazy, and... Is he going to kill himself? Because there's a moment where I thought he was going to kill himself. Is he going to kill himself? Is he going to become someone? Like, is he just going to become a killer?
Or a comic book villain.
Yeah. The idea that he is going to... theoretically run the GCPD as, like, a kill force?
Yeah.
That's that could be fun.
Becomes kind of Judge Dreddy or something.
Yeah. He said, I am the law.
Yeah, and when he say the most interesting thing he does is when he turns to Gordon and says, we're going to do things differently. Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to clean up the city.
The idea that he's going to try to impose that on, first of all, it shouldn't work except this is Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
And Gordon has been a loose cannon, although he's sobered up now, so he's not gonna let Barnes get away with that, I don't think, especially when at the end of the episode he talks to the man that he threw out of the building, I should say through the building.
Yeah.
That looked pretty good. The fall wasn't great, but through the building looked pretty cool. I like once that happens and he says Barnes, I'm like, okay, so now it's gonna be a manhunt for Barnes probably.
Mm.
But you said something last week that made me think while we were watching this that Barnes probably doesn't die this episode, which is, well, it's Mad City, we have to see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this first half of the season is called, or however far they take that.
Yeah.
And this seems to be the beginning of that, maybe. And
yeah,
so
especially if the cops start...
They have to drag that out some.
If people go along with Barnes, if there are cops that are like, yeah, this is what we should have been doing the whole time. And I like the idea that Gordon is finally getting back to a good place, and a somewhat mentor figure is maybe going to drag him right back to where he was, but as a cop.
And the place where he feels, in a weird way, kind of safe, and because he has rules, and those... and those control him some. They put him in a place where he has checks and balances. He's not just out being rogue, and then that flips upside down. What you hope is that Gordon has made enough progress now that we've had the kind of character progression where this is the time he finally won't snap.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think it has the potential to be interesting.
I think he becomes captain by mid-season now. I think almost certainly that's not even an impressive prediction if I'm right. We thought maybe it would...
He will be the one to take Barnes down, and that will get him the promotion.
Yeah, exactly. We thought it was maybe going to be Bullock, but that was when we weren't sure that... The show actually duped us into thinking that maybe he wouldn't become a police officer again until much later, because it was having so much fun with this rogue bounty hunter thing, and it actually made me think it would do it for a while. To its credit, did it longer than I would have expected from last year's and even the year before. 5 episodes before he goes back to the police department for this show, or no, even longer than that. Because we're on 8 or something now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
so that would be like 6, 7.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know, for this show, that's pretty cool. That's pretty impressive. They've actually taken their time to make me think that he's gotten to an emotional place, and that he's gotten some of that mental stability back.
It does seem like Vale is just gone. We've just written her out.
Which sucks good. Well, and I guess we'll see. I don't think so. I think the way this show likes to go soap opera, I think they're back together in 2 or 3 episodes.
I don't think so with all the Lee stuff. The only thing that could happen, because this is a melodrama, is they get back together, and it is at the same moment that Lee leaves Mario.
Yeah.
And goes to be with that could happen. We could Spider-Man 2 it.
Yeah, I could see...
Well, I mean, that's not exactly what happened in Spider-Man 2, but...
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I could see something like that. I don't know what the point was of having her around at all, except having the Vale reference.
Someone that he can not have shot?
Yeah. So that whole thing was hilarious, right?
Oh, it's
Everyone has decided that he wanted the opposite to happen. It was reverse psychology. They all know it. 3 different people know this.
And no one asks, everyone states.
They all just make this assumption. And I'm like, we're pretending like he wears his life totally on his sleeve and that he's predictable and everybody can define Jim Gordon. Up until recently, I couldn't define Jim Gordon.
And we didn't read it that way in scene.
No, we didn't. And I'm okay with it being that.
Yeah.
But he would need to explain it to you. I don't think it makes sense for anybody to be like, no,
maybe
we know.
Because she was in the moment. She saw something in his eyes. Like that.
And they had a for this show lengthy relationship.
Yeah,
but
no, Lee and Vale I don't mind as much.
But it's hilarious when Mario.
It's when Mario does it.
When he's like, I knew that when you. And what was so funny about it was it sounded like an accusation. And I just love that.
Yeah.
Mario basically, at least to me in the moment,
when
I don't want to take
this
too far, but Mario makes it sound like he's saying, how dare you save my fiancé?
Yeah, that's exactly how he says it.
That's what it sounds like, by telling Mad Hatter to shoot the other person, to shoot Vale, to shoot Lee.
Yeah.
Because I knew, and then he punches him in the face, and I'm like, your line is thank you, right? Like, even if that was his motivation, I don't know, this Mario guy makes no sense right now.
No, and he's boring and bland.
And who cares?
This isn't a great written episode. He is the worst written in this episode.
Absolutely,
of all of the characters.
And of course, I haven't cared about him yet. And he's a plot device so far. And he's been for a couple of things. I mean, he's a plot device to make another, stereotypical love triangle, but he's also a way to get Falcone back in. Yeah, and we could have done that in 105 different ways. It didn't need to be through a love triangle. I am interested to see. I can only imagine that Barnes and Falcone meet because something's going to happen with them. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing what that is. Mario punching Gordon is really funny because, I know you didn't watch the OC, and that's where I don't know if you know that. That's where Gordon comes from. Yeah, that's his roots. You told me that. Yeah, That's every episode of that show, man. His name's Ryan in the show. Gordon is Ryan. Ryan is in the exact same situation, getting punched like every episode of the OC. Well, what's funny is that's how I felt about Chickless this episode, where I was like, as much as I felt like this storyline with him is just a way to get him written out, and we're kind of taking our time with it, and it's been a little bit tedious, but like I said, I liked it a little bit better this episode. I feel like it's been simmering. We've been doing other things. It's not like, I don't feel like this feels super stretched. We just kind of put it on the back burner. It feels stretched because I feel like we could have done this a couple episodes ago. You're right, it's been in the background where we just keep putting a pin in it. Yeah. Kind of like Poison Ivy, who's been nowhere for 3 episodes. Once again, no Bruce. This is... The episode before last, we didn't have Bruce. The last episode, he had 2 scenes. This episode, once again, not him. This is not a Batman show. This season is still more competently written than it has been. Oh, absolutely. And it still does not feel directionless like it did before, but we do still have way too many plot threads, and we like to put a pin in things and come back to them. And, I guess that's better than stretching a couple of really, really thinly like we do with a lot of the CW shows, where you can't get 20, 22, 26 episodes out of it, but we try anyway. Mm-hmm. The show is at least saying, okay, we know how many episodes we have, so we're going to have stuff happening to cover it all. Mm-hmm. And at least this year, as opposed to I know I've made this point, but at least this year, as opposed to last year, we aren't putting a pin in things where you show me a scene, I have no idea why I'm watching that scene, and then it doesn't pay off for 6 episodes, not because we've built to it, but because it wasn't even around that whole time. Well, and... So, we've gotten better at the structure and better at the pacing. And we're also we're not doing... And then. Yes. Mm-hmm. We had this thing, and this is going to come back. It's going to be important. We might remind you of this. Poison Ivy shows up to the party. We're not there yet, but we're not just going to finish doing whatever we're doing, and then Poison Ivy shows up, and then this happens. Good point, yeah. Yeah, there are kind of actions and consequences that get us to those places. Yeah, and it also organically for Gotham. For Gotham, yeah. It doesn't feel like we probably more air quotes on this show than anything else we've ever done. Just imagine everything we're saying with air quotes. When I did Son of the Mask, I was air quoting, but you couldn't see it. Just all over. I saw you typing like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's weird too because every time I did that, I would end up with R's and T's when I wanted. But anyway, so. But with the subplots, it doesn't feel like we're getting a scene and it's just there to... there's been a couple times this season, but for the most part, it doesn't feel like it's just reminding us that a subplot is there. The scenes are relevant and they are progressing story, which I shouldn't pat a show on the back for. That's storytelling 101, but we haven't always had that. The point I was going to make about Chickless, though, is it feels like this episode, the stuff that's happening right now and where we're probably going with him, is the reason he was cast. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Yeah. And I really doubt that we had all this planned from the beginning, but... And I haven't really thought, Barnes, why is that Chickless? It certainly is a kind of character that it makes sense for him to play. Yeah. The personality type and the grizzled nature and his obsession with justice and all of that. That's all stuff Chickless can play really well. Mm. But now he's going around thrashing people, and he's he's putting on his shield pants again, and now I get. Did you watch the Shield? No, but I know what it is. Yeah. Okay. I know what he does in that show. I didn't know if you had seen it. I did not. I have not seen it either. Mm-mm. I know him as the Thing. Yeah, me too. Well, and I watched No Ordinary Family. And, Oh yeah. It was. Word I can't say on this channel. There were things I liked about that show. It's not good. And he and the woman who played his wife in that show, who was why can't I ever think of her name? But she played Darla in Buffy and Angel. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They did not make sense as a couple to me. I couldn't and they tried real hard, and there was as much chemistry with that as you could expect. But anyway, but yeah. So I have seen other chickless things.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I like him a lot.
I think I've just seen him as the Thing.
I feel like there might even be one or two other things that I've seen him in, but anyway, I digress. So,
welcome back to Michael Chickless, the podcast.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
All chickless all the time. We've not seen much chickless. We are hoping to expand our...
I'm barely qualified. He's not qualified.
I'm not qualified.
So, let's talk about the Isabella thing. So I thought all this whole time that she knew something we didn't.
Yeah.
I really thought that she was already familiar with what's her face? I can't think of her name.
Kringle.
Thank you, Kringle. And that she was doing this on purpose.
No, she's a crazy person.
And that when she goes to and that it was either somehow her back from the dead. You made that guess. That it could have had something to do with the experiments in Arkham or something. Mm-hmm. You know, we had all kinds of... And that's become our go-to place to go for stuff. You know, it's like cloning with Spawn Gear.
Well, we keep saying that, and we basically dropped that entirely. Like, when was the last time something with experiments in Arkham really came back? Like, Alice?
Well, yeah, but, like, just wait, right?
I mean, stuff's sitting around that we know immediately came out of it.
Right.
But, like, we haven't used it as a plot device for a while.
Not yet.
I mean, we'll see.
But I'm kind of expecting more of it down the road. And we know that we still have Hugo Strange, and he's not dead yet, so...
Yeah. And Fish Mooney.
But anyway, so it turns out that this being Gotham, because I guess you can get away with this in the show, that it really was, as far as I can tell, just someone who looks exactly like her and has similar temperaments, and if you look like her, you will inevitably fall in love with Edward Nygma. Now, why are you saying she's crazy? Because of the way she stands up to the Penguin?
No, because of her resolution to the issue with Edward.
Does that make her crazy, though?
That is not a sane thing to do.
I mean, I don't think I can call it... No, certainly when I think insane with this show, I know I go to this all the time, but killing a man for a sandwich, I don't...
I was waiting for a reveal,
It's her understanding his psychology and,
but in the way that only a crazy person, like, any normal, rational human being would learn this about him and go, I'm out.
The fact that he murdered her and the whole idea... putting on the garb of the person that you... Let me try to reason this out. Putting on the garb of the person that he last dated, and he's afraid of hurting her. Forget that it was murder. And that there is, of course, a large degree of, I'm into you because you look like her, and her still liking him anyway. I could see her desperate enough when he wants to end it because he's afraid of hurting her, and they're having a connection that goes beyond his, if that's the case, beyond his just liking her because of what because she looks like that old girlfriend. I could see the resolution of, I put this on and we see if you can handle it, and if you can, maybe I can kind of maybe.
But that's not how it's played.
But you're right, that's not what's going on.
It's like
once you put the murder in there, and then she grabs his hand and puts it in her throat. So where does that come from?
She's a crazy person. Because she's also totally cool with the murder stuff
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right.
And she's not afraid when he's like.
This show makes me adjust my expectations with human behavior real hard.
Now, what I was expecting was
I've always said this show is a social experiment. It's trying to see if it can drive me insane, or at the very least, to make me okay with insane things. I totally forgot there was murder involved. It's just, so many of our protagonists in this show are murderers! But, Barbara just goes to a party. Anyway, sorry.
She's fun. I've come around on her this season. I'm
on my way, maybe. But, yeah.
She had me when...
Sorry, I didn't mean to run us off in a different
She had me at the party when she was hypnotized and immediately tried to murder the Mad Hatter. That was my tipping point where I'm like, okay.
But I'm sorry, what point were you going to make about Isabella Kringle?
Well, the point I was going to make was what I thought they were going to do, what I thought the reveal was going to be. Because I was also picking up on some kind of mysterious vibes this episode, like something hidden. And she says she's going to read her itinerary, and then she doesn't. I thought we were going to get shot at her itinerary, and it was like, assassinate Prime Minister, like something like that.
Kill Mayor Cobblepot.
Yeah.
Well, what is a librarian convention? What would that even be? Like,
I imagine it's a job conference. It's you're getting caught up on new ways of doing things.
But it immediately sounded like an excuse for something else.
Yeah.
It immediately sounded like she's leaving town to go do something else. Yeah. Like the fact that he was like, "What do you do at a librarian's convention?" and she deflects that immediately.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know.
But she's probably dead now.
She's probably dead, but I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't dead as well.
It would be really fun if the next episode we pick up with the train, and she gets up and fixes her neck and like,
yeah,
you know, that'd be great.
Oh man, that'd be so cool. Do you want to talk about that?
And you know what Gotham would do? Sorry, you know what would happen? She would pick up the glasses, and they would be all shot to hell. They would be all cracked up, and she'd put them on anyway and walk away. Like that would be what they would do.
Do you want to talk about this episode more than I think any episode we watched together? You were kind of squeamish with some of the more violent stuff.
I know, wasn't I? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know over some of the other episodes. I don't know. Maybe I'm finding out something about myself that there's certain things that bug me a little bit more than other things.
You don't like heads in bags or jars.
I'm okay with.
Finish it. Finish it.
Is this Spider-Man 1 with Green Goblin now, where I have to do the Lord's Prayer? Deliver us from it! No, I can deal with like a head that comes out of a bag,
okay,
or something like that. It was something about I was creeped out by the face in the jar. It wasn't even the head; it was the face, and like I've never liked the 52 Joker face thing. I don't like it. I can't deal with it. I don't even mean like narratively or whatever. And I get obviously the symbolism, the metaphor, and what we're doing with that, and that it's that it's identity stuff. And if we do any more with that, I would assume there could be some identity things with faces, and we've had a little bit of that in the show. This seems like a real first season Gotham kind of plot to me.
Well, and then there's
But you're right. Some of that stuff did kind of
and the body in the tub.
That one was rough. I don't know. And I think it was. I think the deal was it was effective how they shot it. I think it might even be less.
It looked like something out of Dexter Hannibal.
It's because I wasn't expecting it. With both of those things, it was a quick cut to it, and it just kind of cut, or not even a cut every time. Where it's just we get there a little quicker than I would have expected, and I'm not prepared for it. You know, we're not ramping up the suspense with that. We're just going, here you go, and I'm like, ah. So it's effective.
So you don't feel like this isn't like crossing a line or going further than they've gone?
No, I think it's better with some of that horror stuff.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you is like, did you, because I didn't feel like this was any
why it's not you know why it's not gratuitous?
Because it's Gotham.
Well, the fact that I reacted the way it was, I think is a testament to what they did there. I like it. Because Barnes is losing it because of injustice. And we need to see how wrong it is. I like that.
Yeah. And
that's really good.
I mean, it's Gotham. The injustice is really wrong.
Yeah, it's really wrong. And of course, he is, and it's just consistent with the level of violence we've had in this show. A lot of the time it's gratuitous, and I've complained a lot about how predictable it will be, where they think they're being edgy or shock factor, and I'm like, no, that's about what I expected. This is not that. I mean, this is more effective than that. I liked it as kind of police captain archetype as he is.
I really like
that I like that as police captain archetype as he is. He what the virus is doing to him comes from a character place.
Yeah, I really like the big thing that like sets him off is everyone saying, I'm just the cleanup guy. I'm just the guy that works for the other people. And he's like, you're still a bad person. You're still guilty. You still, like, it's not okay what you're doing just because you're not the one that did this.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that.
Yeah,
I thought that was...
And I like that the argument is it's just business, and no one ever says that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give the script that it didn't use that cliche.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice. The middleman thing is a motif in this show. They're going back to some of the good ideas they've had that they kind of dropped and haven't run with. Or when I say ideas, I mean themes. Ideas we're exploring. The show is about stuff again.
I was kind of wondering if it was going to lead to...
It's not thick or nothing, but...
To, like, the core of the Owls or something, where he's like, there's always somebody above them. Like at the beginning where he's like, well, I'm just doing this for this guy. And then he goes to that guy, and that guy's like, well, I'm just working for this guy. I thought, like, it was going to be we're going to follow this to the top.
Yeah. Well, I was reminded of... The big thing this called back to, I think, is the woman who, I think it was in season 2, who you went to if you wanted someone assassinated.
Yeah.
I was reminded of that whole thing where there's this whole infrastructure of if there's bad things you want done, there's always somebody that can do it.
Yeah.
They don't ask any questions. And remember, the Wayne murders happened that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just remembered that. So like that's how Gotham works. There's always a guy that hires a guy that hires a guy.
Yeah.
Nobody does their own dirty work, which is part of what makes the corruption effective. That's part of why you're able to have that in that city. And we lost sight really quickly last season of what the corruption was and where it came from. Mm-hmm. Or not where it came from, but like if we were even looking at like that idea wasn't even being explored anymore. It was just, look, this is weird. Mm. Or aren't these things wrong and disturbing? Now we've sobered up a little bit and we're talking about that stuff again.
Yeah.
And it's still insane and disturbing. But now it feels like we've exaggerated an idea as opposed to just throwing stuff at you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this might be the weakest episode of the season. It's still better than most of the rest of the show.
This is a thing that I feel like I say more and more about episodes of TV shows where the writer's room knows what it's doing, but they got the wrong person to write this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it.
So the overarching story, we're on our way.
Yeah, it's the
there's maybe some good stuff.
It's the nuts and bolts. It's the dialogue. It's the
Yeah, it's just the effectiveness scene to scene.
Yeah,
is all. Anything we missed?
Matt Harris shows up one episode. He continues to be fun.
Yeah. He's rhyming a lot.
Yeah,
he rhymes a lot. I wondered if Mr. Toad was Mr. Toad.
So I looked it up.
There's a Mr. Toad, is there not?
There is a Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
Well, he's...
And in this, we have a guy called The Toad.
Yes, he's The Toad. So I looked up, because we get a name from him. He's Maxwell Simon.
With a Y.
Yeah. That character doesn't exist, but a lot of people have that name. A bunch of results came up. He is not... He doesn't seem to be Mr. Toad in any way. I mean... Okay. The Mr. Toad of the comics is just kind of a flunky for Professor Pig. Yeah. I can't believe we haven't done Professor Pig yet on this show. If anyone could actually go to the places...
Have we not?
We've not done Professor Pig.
Did we have, like, pig masks or something at some point? I can't remember. I feel like there was a place where... Wasn't there that episode that Edlin wrote that was...
Well, there's the goats.
That's what I'm thinking.
There's the goat mask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, we've not done Professor Pig, but if Professor Pig was to be done somewhere, it would be this show. Of course. I mean, they had him up where the Batman, but he wasn't anything like his character. But yeah, no, this is not Mr. Toad, and Mr. Toad doesn't have a real name. So if they're borrowing anything, it is solely the fact that the Toad name. That's it.
Yeah.
We didn't get an explanation for why he's called the Toad either.
No, he doesn't look especially toadish to me.
No.
You know. He's just a sniveling.
I like the idea that there is someone you go to in Gotham when you want a new face. That there is a guy.
I like that too. And we've had a lot of surgery and genetic experimentation and that kind of stuff in this show where we have a lot of people that do things like that. It's starting to feel like we have a real unique mythology in the show again. Mm-hmm. I was also I mentioned this to you while we were watching it, but I was also reminded of the Chop Shop again, which was referenced a couple episodes ago, where there's even a place, and I love it. There's like a Best Buy for murderers, and
it's almost like the other side of John Wick, where like John Wick has this really complicated like criminal underworld. We're seeing the other side, like we're getting bits and pieces of it from cops like finding these people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as well thought out as John Wick, but it's that kind of a thing.
And the chop shop is interesting because Gotham is so corrupt, and remember that I always have to remind myself about this. Before Barnes got there's a lot of things the police department just lets happen. And the chop shop is one of those things. They go there and they don't try to shut it down. If memory serves, but I mean, it's been a while, so like I don't even remember what happens in that episode. But that was a thing that always stuck with me because you hear somebody on an intercom talking about grenades and things in like aisle 6 or whatever, and that is so funny.
Do you remember?
We're back to that stuff again.
Do you remember in season 2 when they announced that Harvey Dent was being moved up to the main cast and wouldn't be a guest star anymore?
I remember you saying that.
I saw it.
Really? Wow. Yeah. We haven't seen him in a long time. He was there like once or twice last year.
Yeah, he was barely. I want to say that was an announcement before season 2 started, but I might be wrong.
But they've integrated Lucius Fox and have tried to make us think that he is integral to this show. And he's not. He feels real redundant right now. I'm hoping that if and when we finally get rid of Lee, that maybe he gets more to do. But I'm not a big fan of him being in the GCPD. And I feel like they put him there so he could do something, and he hasn't really...
But then they put Lee back there, and now he doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, and they've even had to struggle with, in the story, how redundant that is.
Yeah.
But... I don't know, maybe he stays there for a while just to keep him in the show somewhere, and then he goes back and takes over Wayne Enterprises or something. That's what I keep expecting to happen with him.
By the way, it is not okay that Lee did not invite Harvey Bullock to her party.
That bothered me. He goes, I wasn't invited, and I was like, I don't know, you guys have been through some things.
Yeah, no.
And I kind of get not inviting Jim, and wouldn't it have been
that makes perfect sense.
Wouldn't it have been kind of nice if he was like, oh, I'm going. They've got booze, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And if Jim was like, well, I didn't get an invitation, but I understand that you go have a good time. Like, that would have been a nice moment, maybe.
You know what would have been really funny? If he's like, well, I get to bring +1.
Oh, that's great. And then Jim, this would be so outside of his character, of his character, and for Mackenzie to say this, but I just want to see him, loophole! You're channeling Barbara right now a little bit, aren't you? Anything else we need to go to?
I don't think so.
This one. Well, I feel like I'm liking it more as I'm talking about it than I did while I was watching it.
I think it's got better ideas than it presents the idea.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, this could be...
There's some nice moments, and Harvey Bullock's great every time he's on screen.
Oh, he's great.
Which we always say, but he gets a little more screen time.
Him with Barnes, where he's like, right, Cap, great plan.
That was great. That was great.
I'm not giving you the day off.
And there's been a real progression there because they've hated each other, and Barnes doesn't like that Bullock's even there, and you can tell they have a rapport that they have built off screen that has believably gotten to where it is, and I didn't need to see it.
Yeah.
I props on him for that because this is not that show. That's cool.
The one thing I want to throw out as like a crazy theory, is. So we established that there is a go-to person for changing faces. He's dead. As we know, the universe abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
There are a couple of characters you could throw in there. Falseface.
Well, that's where I thought we were going, maybe.
Yeah, I was too. Falseface, Clayface, another Clayface.
Right.
There are 9 Clayfaces.
There are a lot of Clayfaces. Yep. And we haven't done female versions of any character that we've seen already yet, so...
You know, there is a character that was introduced in Battle for the Cowl, who no one knew who she was because she was introduced in Battle for the Cowl and they acted like she was a classic rogue, named Jane Doe, and I know John Doe's a really, like, normal thing to say,
right?
But, like...
Well, so is Jane Doe, that's the female equivalent.
Well, and her whole thing is that she doesn't have a face. And I kept waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't. It was a show, it was an episode with faceless people called John Doe, and I was like, are they gonna do Jane Doe? That'd be weird.
And this would be the show where you would have somebody that had no face.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's really disturbing.
But yeah, so I'm wondering if we were establishing that there's a go-to person for plastic surgery to maybe bring in a character that does that.
Yeah.
A known character that does that.
Yeah, and
maybe not. This could just be a one-off, you know.
And it's also going to make me paranoid because as soon as you do that, you start thinking, okay, somebody's walking around pretending to be someone else. You know, like, there could be some character after this that we think is one person that you find out episodes and episodes later is actually somebody else.
Yep.
That could be a setup for that, or it could be nothing. It could be a red herring, or they might not even be thinking about that. It could just be... I mean, you know, obviously mistaken identity is a thing you're going to do a lot in Batman. You know, I mean, and that's part of why we're doing the thing with Barnes is that is a very, Batman thing. The question of should you cross the line and kill the bad guys as opposed to taking them in, because that solves the problem. And what's wrong with Batman? He just keeps putting the crazy nut jobs back in jail and letting them get out. Barnes is the extreme of the Batman personality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The thing that's on
purpose. There's no way they're not thinking that.
Afraid that he'll become if he started killing.
Yeah.
Or if he killed.
When they put that in the show, there's no way they're not thinking the extreme of the Batman personality.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought this was an alright episode.
Yeah, me too. The more we're talking about it, I thought I was going to be more down on it when we sat down.
I think it's a lot of dialogue. It's just that
it's just bad dialogue.